Good morning, everybody. We're jumping straight into the action on this sunrise safari. The Angama Pride have spotted the stripes in the distance, but they're still quite far away. Maybe they'll go after them, I'm not sure. They haven't seemed to had too much luck at all. Last night, well, didn't seem to be too fruitful for them. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig, aka Batman, aka Butternut Craig. And well, we're hoping to see some action this morning. Remember, this is live, this is happening right now. You can hashtag Safari Live, or you can chat to us on the YouTube chat, and I look forward to seeing your screenshots a little bit later. Remember, we love those, and well, anything else you've got for us and all the questions. Let's have another look. Now, unfortunately, we know the area that the Angama Pride like to roam around on is a non-off-roading area, so we can't go, I suppose in South Africa we'd say trapsing after them. We can't go driving after them into the bushes, unfortunately. But there they sit, ears pricked, staring into the distance. Those zebra are very far away, even from where they are now. Must be about another 80 meters or so. So they've still got a bit of a way to go. But the lionesses are keen. Two of them are indeed keen. There's another one just to the right, just hanging against the tree line. I wonder where the other two are. So I'll give you a quick update of last night. We unfortunately had some difficulties, and the buffalo came storming in and chased the lions across the drainage line, where they then remained for most of the evening. They gave a couple of roars here and there, and then they went back to sleep. And the buffalo obviously made it out alive, and so did the lions. So good news for everybody in the Mara Triangle, well, for this pride. And they're hungry. They've got loads and loads of cubs that they need to feed, so it's important that, of course, they do catch something. And if it's going to be anything, it'll probably be a zebra today, because the wildebeest have all gone south to Tanzania. I don't know when they shall be making their return back this way, but hopefully after all this grass is starting to turn green, we were chatting about that yesterday, theoretically they should come this way, unless Tanzania's also had huge downpours. Oh, lovely. Now, Alaramwe, you say that look at all those golds and yellows. Isn't it lovely? It is indeed. That is one special scene. And I was just saying this morning as we were driving down our hill, I cannot believe how incredible it is that is my view. Every single morning. The sky wasn't quite on fire like it was yesterday, but it was good enough. Now, I'm trying to think how we're going to get through here, because we've got some trees blocking our view, but unfortunately for us it is very, very far away. Although there's one zebra there, a couple just to the left that don't seem to be too far away. Maybe they're going to graze closer. They don't know that the lions are here just yet. I can't even see those lionesses anymore. They've ducked behind some shrubs now. There are quite a few vehicles there, barring that lioness, of course. But they are, with all the vehicles around, it does make it difficult for us to maneuver. So I think we're going to just try and hold the spot for as long as we can. We might not get a clear view of the action, firstly because it is so far away, and then of course there's all these different shrubs and things out and about. Hopefully the cubs stay hidden. What I've been noticing is that these poor lionesses that have cubs really do have a tough time out here, because it is so open. When they don't want to listen, they just do what they want and come running out and ruin it for the adults. Now, I can do it. She said that she definitely looks like she's sneaking up on something. Well, they were. I can't see the ones that are stalking now. They're just off to the left using those shrubs, and I think they're trying to get behind the zebra. Maybe chase them from that side. Like I said, I don't know where the other lionesses are. Who's creeping forward there? Is that an adult or is it a cub? The one that was sitting, that's a cub. Now there's that other one. Excuse me. That wouldn't be a safari if I didn't sneeze. I'm just talking about also how allergies are strong. Okay, no, that is an adult lioness. So there's two of them. And I think the third one went around to the left. So now we need to figure out where is the fourth lion. Where has she gone? Has she gone all the way around to the east? I'm not sure. We can only speculate. But we'll sit here for a little bit longer and see what develops. But unfortunately, if they do catch a zebra out there, it's going to be difficult for us to view them. Tristan has managed to overcome his vehicle problems, perhaps by kicking the tires of the cars. Let's go say good morning to him.
Good morning everybody and welcome to the Sunrise Safari from South Africa. Yes, we've had some vehicle problems. Rusty decided, nope, I'm not going anywhere this morning, so we had to quickly swap out the battery with Wendy, but now we're up and running and Rusty is going, which is fantastic news. Now, as Taylor mentioned, my name is Tristan and on camera today I have got Sebastian, and it is live, it is interactive, which means you can get hold of us on #SafariLive or on the YouTube chat. Right, the morning has gotten off to a bit of a chaotic start, so we're just trying to catch our breath before we decide where we're going to head. I wanted to try and see if I can find the Djuma Pride this morning. They were on Torchwood yesterday and I thought they might come back this way, given that generally when they go into Torchwood they don't push too far east and they come back, but I've just been informed that they were left last night crossing into the Kruger National Park. What they're doing in the Kruger National Park I have no idea. It's the first time I've ever heard of them going that far, so I don't know what's happening there or why they've headed in that direction, but we'll head along Cheetah Cut Line anyway, just in case they maybe did come back. There's also audio for a leopard calling late last night, so Seb and I are going to just try and scratch around and see what we can find. We're not really expecting too much at this stage, but that's the plan. Maybe if you've got some ideas for us, #SafariLive, and you can let us know where you think we should check. I'm quite keen to head to the hyena den at some stage, although it hasn't been active since I've been back. Everybody's been going, but nobody's actually gotten it active yet, so maybe hyena den a little bit later, and then, well, just go and scratch around. We haven't really explored too much of Djuma because we've been sitting, you know, on so many different sightings in the central part. I haven't really been up towards Buffelshoek Dam, so I think I might go and check up around there and then head southwards, maybe do a little bit of Chitwa as well. That's the kind of idea for the morning. But while we do that, I believe Taylor's lines are now up and moving, and I wonder if they're going to be heading towards those zebra while they're on the hunt.
I'm so sorry, I've got dust in my eyes, I can't actually see where anything's going. The lions are trying to kill a hyena. Where did the hyena go? The lionesses are running. Woo! Lucky hyena, you got away. Very, very, very lucky hyena. Look, there it runs, running for its absolute life. That was very funny. That was fantastic. That hyena came walking in at the wrong time, and this lioness, or a couple of lionesses actually ran out, and I thought that they had got hold of it at one point, the sounds that were coming from that hyena. There she goes. I love the fact that the lions do not tolerate the hyenas out here. They're constantly chasing them off, especially if there's young cubs around. But that was exciting. That was so funny. So there we go, not hunting anymore. More worried about another predator, which can be a threat to, of course, like I said, their cubs. Very unhappy. That hyena learnt its lesson. Perhaps it won't mess with lions for the rest of the day, but you never know. Isn't that beautiful? It's amazing how their attention was drawn away from stalking zebra to chasing another predator. Let's see what they do. At least it's a good close view for us now. They're back on the road again, because I was worried they were venturing off very far into an area that not even we were going to be able to see with our extensive zooms that we have on the camera. Still staring off in the distance. They look in good condition though. I mean, they don't look starving. They weren't as thin as the sausage tree pride. They look like they needed a meal more, and we probably will go and have a look for them too at some point. Maybe they make an appearance again after they disappeared yesterday afternoon. This is fantastic. Oof, I can't tell you how lucky that hyena was. Those lions were on its tail, and if they catch it, it's going to be in trouble. Male lions are notorious for killing hyenas. Rochelle, you said that. Yay! Hyenas for the win. Yeah, very, very lucky. Remember the Mapojos, when they arrived in the Sabi sand, they went through not only just killing lions, but I heard stories of trails of dead hyena just being dotted across the roads. Right, let's carry on. I'm just going to get a better spot. There's another lion here, but there's no more action this side, so I'm just going to turn the car slightly. There's another girl. So I heard stories of how the hyenas were literally just left for dead on the side of the road as the big Mapojos came through. They did not tolerate any other predators whatsoever. And we're seeing it clearly in the Sabi sand now, with the amount of times that lions are actually killing the leopards. It's very unfortunate, but these sorts of things happen. These conflicts between predators happen on a regular basis. Now, Patty, you're wondering if hyenas would kill lion cubs just to kill them. Actually, they would end up eating them as well. So hyenas don't say no to anything. This lioness is walking right past the car now. It's very cool. She's so close. See, very relaxed, just like the Sabi sand lions. There's a couple more still coming. So not only would a hyena kill lion cubs if the adults weren't away, like I said, they'll actually eat them too. Now, the reason why they would kill something like that is because it's competition. They're the zebra, but they don't seem to be interested in them, and they'll get rid of them. But they won't leave anything for waste. I mean, hyenas are even known for cannibalism. If one of their own get killed, they'll often go back and eat it too. So there is no waste with the hyenas. Now, that might sound quite savage, but it's not. It's just the way that those animals survive, and it's why their populations are fantastic throughout Africa. Very cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We raced around, was in a cloud of dust. It was quite funny, actually. Everybody was super excited. James has also been having some problems with the gremlins this morning. Maybe he's going to do an anti-gremlin dance for you. I'm not so sure, but he's up and running.
Good morning. I hope you're all well today. It's wonderful to be on safari with you today. My name is James Hendry, and I'm dressed in this hat because today is my last game drive for the next little while. I'll be going on holiday, and so in that vein I have got a jaunty hat at a jaunty angle on my jaunty balding head. Wonderful. David is on camera with us today. There he is. Excellent. Well, that's a piece of him anyway. That's his thumb. And it would be lovely to hear from you during the course of this drive. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us on Twitter. Otherwise, you can, of course, talk to us on the YouTube chat stream. My plan today is to head down this way, other than fixing my hat, of course, which is just ridiculous. I'm going to head down this road here and see if we can't either pick up on the leopard we had yesterday or the sausage tree pride, which should be around here somewhere. Taylor reckoned they were going to hunt yesterday, and perhaps they have hunted a zebra. Perhaps they are on the hunt, with any luck, a zebra or a taupai or one last remaining wildebeest. Let's see. So that's my story. I think I've told you everything that I need to tell you. And so what we're going to do is head across to South Africa, which is some 2,500 miles that way, to Tristan, and hope that he is having a lovely day in spring South Africa.
I am indeed, Mr. Hendry, and I hope that you're going to have a lovely last day before you head off on holiday. I'm sure you're going to have an enjoyable time and certainly a well-deserved break. I don't think James has been off very much in the last 4 months, so it would be nice for him just to get a bit of a break, as is much of the crew there. Much of the crew has had a really long shift done, and it was quite nice to see Wiem back. Wiem was back at Djuma last night, just briefly, to come and fetch some things, and then he'll be back in a few days' time to come back onto camera on this side of the world. So nice to see Wiem last night, cruising around camp again. It was a bit weird because it's so kind of odd to think that some of the Mara guys are already back this side, but it was very, very nice. And like I say, I hope James will have a wonderful holiday. He certainly has worked hard and deserves a good break. But we haven't had any sort of changes in our plans. I'm just slowly puttering about, and I'm trying to find any tracks, listening for birds, listening for any sort of indication of animals. There's quite a few tracks of elephants around Gari Dam, but they look like most of them go north up Mvubu, so the chances of them still being on our side is quite slim. But I want to just check towards Buffelshoek Dam anyway, just because I haven't really been up there, and I want to see how low the water has gotten. If you compare it to Gari Dam is really very low now. In fact, Seb and I were talking about it as we drove past. There's that grey heron that's sitting there, and the grey heron's legs in the deep or middle part are sticking out above the surface, so it means that that dam is not very deep at all. It's less than a meter deep, and that means that it's going to dry very quickly. So I want to go and see how Buffelshoek Dam is doing. I know Buffelshoek Dam is also not as deep as some of the other dams, and so it'll be interesting to see, especially if there's been lots of elephant activity that side. Then it would be interesting to see how much they've actually drank out of it. Now, I do apologize if there is any picture breakup as I go through here. This is just close to Gari Cutline, and we're just going through a little dip, so bear with me for 2 seconds as we quickly go along. Hopefully we managed to get through. There we go. Megan says you'll be still with us, which is fantastic news. Well done. Gremlins, it seems as though they've been vanquished with the heat that has arrived for spring, which is Very good. Now I wonder why this Angama pride has moved so far to the east. It really is puzzling. James, thank you very much for reminding me, because I actually haven't thought about it, but I am super excited to go and check. James is saying let's go and have a look at that Djuma or African harrier hawk nest that is on Chitwa. So that is actually a really good idea, James. I'm quite keen on that idea as well. Do a bit of birding today. But what we do have, which is really cool and is a sign that things have really warmed up, is across the road here in front of me is a very clear snake track. So you can see there where a snake has gone across the road. There's the coils, as I can see my tires unfortunately went over it, but there it goes, crossing the road all the way along, and it was heading from a southerly direction to the north, so it was crossing into Buffelshoek. You can see the mounds of sand are pushed up towards us on the curls that are on this side. There you go, that mound of sand. So it was pushing, going in a northerly direction, so crossing from right to left as Seb is following it. And the pattern of the track is a very sort of tight curve, so I would imagine, and quite wide, so I'd imagine this is probably a puff adder. Now puff adders do actually go in curves as well as straight lines, but when they go, they often are quite tight. So the other thing it could be is also a night adder, given that this is a track from during the night. I don't think this is a track from during the day yesterday or yesterday afternoon. This is from the night time, so we know puff adders and night adders both quite active at night, so I think it's one of those that is crossed over. But it's an indication that if you've got snakes moving around at night, that things are starting to get a lot warmer. And actually last night it was very warm. I remember we had dinner, all of us, and we sat in our t-shirts. Nobody even had a jersey on. Very strange compared to a week ago when everybody was wrapped up tight. There's a kudu in the distance. Just what give him. Aegis, you wondering about what kind of snakes are in our area? So we're just having a quick look at the sunrise as we go down Buffelshoek cut line. Aegis, we've got lots of different types of snakes in this area. We've got pythons, we've got black mambas, we've got adders, there's tree snakes, which we call a boomslang, there's vine snakes, grass snakes, whip snakes, wolf snakes. So lots of different types of snakes that we get in this area. There are 6 of them that could potentially kill us, so you've got to be a little bit careful as you move around. That is very pretty as the golden light goes through the branches. Now Seb, I'm going to try and see if we can just sneak past our roadblock. So sometimes we have slight roadblocks in the road that we just need to get past. There we go. Dr. Rob, you say you really would love to see a mamba. Well, Dr. Rob, now's the time for them. Snakes, I find the best time to see them is generally now when we start going into summer. You get a lot of activity. Obviously, most of them have been in some sort of state of estivation during winter months when it's been cold. They haven't really been moving too much. So most of them are quite hungry and they're active and they're moving around. So hopefully we will get a mamba somewhere along the line. It is a good time for them. What have you spotted, Seb? Which side? There, right here. Didn't even see them. Sorry, Seb. So there's a giraffe. It looks like a female and her young one. There's a little baby in the background there as well. So this is the female. She's got actually quite thick... No, sorry, there's a male that is here. But where's the female then? Because I don't see her. There's definitely a baby around. Maybe I've just driven past her or she's in the distance. But that's a young male and there's the little baby in the background. Hello, little one. 2 of you, actually. Now... those are both probably, the one on the right I would say is maybe 2-3 years old and the one on the left about a year old. So we were talking about leopards hunting giraffe. You can see that one on the left is about the size of the one that Tingana once killed. So it just gives you an idea of just how big a prey item these guys can go after, these big male leopards. It's pretty crazy. But I love watching giraffe feed. Look at how it uses that long tongue. There we go. It sticks the long tongue out and grabs the foliage off these trees. But really interesting composition because you've got these young ones, there the rest are, The females are all in the background. They're actually starting to come out now, and they're heading sort of down towards the road where that young male is walking. There's a couple of females right in the background through those thickets. So there you go. There's the mothers for those little ones. Really nice to see. I haven't seen giraffe in so long. It's always a pleasure when we get these giraffe kind of walking through the sunrise. There's something about a silhouetted giraffe in Africa that really kind of is that quintessential picture that everybody thinks of. Jean, you say such beautiful creatures. Well, they are. They're the most odd things because they're incredibly elegant and oh, I like that. Seb, with the nice sort of sunset silhouette. But they're such elegant creatures. They're awkward but elegant and so placid and calm. I really do enjoy when giraffe are around, and like I say, especially in the morning when they're kind of silhouetted against the light. It's a beautiful sort of picture. And you can see they're looking for food. It's underneath a big knobthorn at the moment, so I'm sure it's trying to find some sort of flowers. There's a few knobthorns that still have residual flowers on them, and so it's really what they're looking for, but most of it's already been eaten by either the ellies or the giraffes that they can reach. And there you go, looking right through the sunset. Sunrise, sorry. Thanks, Seb. It's early, Seb, and we've had car troubles. Let me go forward a bit so we can try and just catch up with these guys. Oh, look at him stretching. That's so cool. I always like spending time with these giraffe when it's like this. Now, Seb, I know we're going to silhouette shots, but there's so many branches in the way. I'm going to just try and get into that position there. And there we go. It's much easier now to actually see them. There's no branches in the way at all. And it's incredible to see how high they can feed. Jan Eric, you wondering how old giraffes can get? Well, here in the wild, very seldom will we see giraffes go over sort of 18, 19 years. Most of them, unfortunately, get killed when they get much older. They start to get sort of problems with their legs, and there's often slows them down, and high tick loads and all kinds of things that happen. Then the predators take advantage. But they can get into their mid-20s in captivity. But here in the wild, very seldom will they go over 20 years old. You are very elegant. So, Joe, you're asking if giraffes stay in their family groups, and if they do have family groups, and if what the structure is of those. Well, Joe, giraffe out here, they're the most sort of loose social structure in terms of a family grouping. So it's not like any of the other animals that there'll be either a male or female dominant. Giraffe, there's none of that. They just mix and match all the time. They tend to kind of drift in and out, and there's been a couple studies done where they reckon that giraffe herds don't stay the same for more than a 24-hour period. So you'll have a situation where females and males will come in, they'll move apart, they'll drift. There's really not any social structure whatsoever. The only time there's any competition is when a female comes into estrus, and then multiple males will follow that chemical signature and find her, and then they'll compete over those females. But they don't actually dominate an area. The females don't have a home range really. They just move around wherever the food is. So as food is appearing, so you'll find like now when knobthorns are flowering, they'll move into where the knobthorn thickets are. As soon as there's a different flower growing on a tree somewhere else, you'll find the giraffe then move into that area. So it just depends on where there's food, and that's how they'll dictate where they're actually going. Look how long that tongue is. It's trying to get the seed pods. Actually, it's not after the flowers, it's after the seed pods. Your tongue is ridiculous. They have tongues that are over 30 centimeters long, so it's quite amazing to be able to see how far it can stretch out. And it's vitally important when they're trying to get things like seed pods and varying other plants, because they can feed a little bit higher than they are actually tall, so it helps them quite a bit. And there we go, they're meandering now. Seems like into the distance a little bit. Heather, you are wondering whether our giraffe friends make sounds. Well, Heather, this is quite interesting. They do possess vocal cords and they can produce sound, but they very, 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 very seldom do it. In fact, in my time in the bush, I've only heard giraffe twice making a noise, and that's when they've seen a predator. But it's even then, sometimes they'll see lions and they won't make a single sound. So they're very unlike a lot of the other animals. A lot of the other animals, oh, look at that, through the sunrise. A lot of the other animals will warn everybody and make lots of noise if they hear or see any predator, but giraffe not so much. But they do possess vocal cords, and they can make a sort of snorting sound, much like what you hear from the impalas. How beautiful is that, with the long road and those long legs? That's very cool. Now the rest of them are also going to come over, so it will be a beautiful shot of the rolling hills and the giraffe crossing over. Where are you? There you come. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Very pretty. Very nice, Sebastian. But you can see there also how much taller that male giraffe is, and that's still a very young male as opposed to that female behind him, and that, I suppose, is not a very old female either, but it just gives you an idea of just how much taller the males do get, and eventually in time he'll be a meter taller than she will at fully grown, when they both are fully grown. So, Paula, you want to know if the giraffe ever interbreed? Well, I suppose it's possible because of the lack of social structure. Maybe sometimes males will come into an area where there's potentially a aunt or a sister or a sort of niece or something like that, and they might interbreed a little bit, but it's really difficult to say. We don't know the giraffe as well as maybe, you know, some of the lions or leopards, so it's difficult to know if they do interbreed a lot. I'm sure that it does happen every now and then. If it does happen with the territorial animals like leopard and lions, I suppose it's very possible that it will happen with giraffe. The thing is about interbreeding is, even if it does happen once or twice, it's not too much of a problem, because genetically it's not a huge issue. I think it takes 3 or 4 generations of inbreeding before there's some sort of problem that takes place. So it's okay every now and then, and because of the density of giraffe and the numbers of giraffe, the chances are quite low. You must remember, I think in Kruger now there's close to 20,000 giraffe or something like that, as 18 or 19,000. So that's a lot of giraffe, and they all mix and match all over the place, and so the chances of them finding their mother or their sister is very, very slim once they distribute and move around. You can see how effective it is to use that tongue and their lips. Watch how they just strip every little leaf off those branches. So as soon as they wrap their tongue around it, it doesn't take long and there's nothing left on the branch itself. You can also see by this picture just how sparse it's getting for the browsers. There's very little in the way of food on these leaves, on these trees. They've really lost most of their leaves now, and it's going to be a tough time over the next little bit for our giraffe and our kudu until the rains come. And we should have rains fairly shortly. I was told yesterday that we had rains last year on the 18th of September, so I suppose that's not too far away at all, actually. What are we today? Are we on the 10th, Seb? Right, so that's in 8 days. What's your prediction? When are we going to get rain, Seb? Come on, we'll have to have a bet on this, Seb, and see who's closest. And if whoever's closest can buy the other one an apple juice, how about that?
So what are we, the 10th of September?
Yeah.
First rain, 5th of October.
5th of October. So you're going 5th of October. I'm going to go with 27th of September. And when we say rain, it's got to be decent rain. So we're going to say over 20 mils. That's going to be our baseline. And that's what we're going to use as a estimate. Right, while we contemplate when the rain is going to come, let's go across to Taylor McCurdy, who I think is with one of the spotted predators of the Mara.
Welcome back, welcome back. I'm just trying to get you a cool view of some hyena. There's one hyena is carrying something in its mouth, so I just want to turn. Oh, we've got hippos. This is going to be great. There it goes. I don't know what it's managed to pick up, but it has stolen something. A chunk of, looks like a skin of some sort. Not much meat left on there. Perhaps it is going to the tailor to get a bag made, like Scott was doing yesterday with his goat skin. No, I don't. That's terrible. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. But I wonder where this hyena is going with it. Now, hyenas are incredible in terms of being able to digest things that no other animal can digest. So even though that might not look too appetizing because there is a lack of flesh, they'll eat straight through that hide, no problem. I wonder where you're going, girl. Let's see where she goes. There's another hyena following behind. Looks like a sub-adult. Just over there. Quite a youngish hyena. Doesn't look particularly large. Doesn't look fully grown just yet. It's about the third of the other one, or maybe just less than a half of the other one's size. Off it goes. Looks filthy. So I wonder what they were scavenging. This is very cool, though. I don't think that these are the hyenas, or one of the hyenas that we saw getting chased by the lions. We're exceptionally far away from that area now. But off they go. Isn't that a beautiful view? Dr. Rob, you share the same terrible sense of humour that I have. You said that it would make a very good bag. Of course, we're just joking. We're just having a little bit of fun here. That animal has died, has been killed either by hyenas. It could have been killed by cheetah or lions or a leopard, and they've come in and cleaned the scraps. So that's what I love about hyenas, is honestly nothing goes to waste. Some buffalo just in the background there. Really, it's so great that there is an animal out here that will completely clean up after, well, the rest of the animals, which I think is fantastic. Some topi also just at a distance. Now, Tina from New Hampshire, wondering if that hyena is pregnant. I don't know. It looks like its mammary glands look swollen. So whether it's got cubs, maybe. Whether it is carrying, I'm not so sure. I had a very quick view of it, and as you can see, it's exceptionally far away. So I didn't really get a chance to have a good look at it. I'm wondering, see, unfortunately, I need to go and find some lions, and those hyena not going in the direction that I wanted to go in. But I'm indecisive. No, we must carry on. We must keep focus here. So the reason also, I must tell you, the reason why we left the Angamas is that they turned back and they walked straight. Oh, hang on, there's hippo. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you as well. They walked straight towards the drainage line. There were lots and lots of cars, and unfortunately I couldn't squeeze back into that sighting. So we decided to move on. We can go there a little bit later, but they stopped hunting, and hopefully we'll find some other lions to have a look at too. But there's some hippo sleeping in the mud. That looks very comfortable, having a good Himalayan mud bath. It's obviously not Himalayan, maybe a Mara Triangle mud bath. I can't see why they aren't down in the river, because there are huge sections of the river that aren't inhabited by any other hippos. So there is one there that looks like it has been through the wars a little bit, just on its back. Looks like it's got some wounds of some sort, whether that's, I'm pretty sure it's from fighting. So they're just happy to rest up in the mud. This is what we typically see during the drought, is when there's no water left, they'll come into areas like this. But maybe if it gets too hot, then they will head down towards the water. Perhaps it was just to stay nice and cool the evening. It wasn't too cold last night either. But let's carry on. Let's go on. Those hyenas they're on a mission. They're definitely on a move somewhere. Now, I would like to find a hyena den, especially from those clans that we see along the escarpment. I'm sure there's a den site somewhere, or there should be more than one den site, but it is quite difficult to try and find them. So just checking to see if there's anyone driving behind me. So we're just taking this river road. We're having a little squiz around here along this lugger, see if there's anything interesting lurking about other than those hippos, and then that cool sighting of the hyenas. Not so much. Maybe as we venture along this way, because there seems to be quite a bit of game, from buffalo to lots of waterbuck, zebra. So there should be some predators about. That's the idea anyway. If I was a lion, I'd hang around here. But it's difficult for them to hunt. This grass has been grazed so short, so there's not much for them to really hide behind. And well, speaking of checking the river, Tristan's not going to be checking a river because there's not many water systems down in the Sabi sand, but he's at one of my favorite dams, Buffels Hook.
Well, we are, and it's impressive the amount of water that Buffels Hook has held this year, because remember last year it went dry, so there's still a lot of water here, which is fantastic news, and hopefully this will mean a number of the elephants will move back into this area and make use of all this water, given that it is getting drier and drier. But other than that, there's really very little going on. There's the odd lapwing around, there's the odd thick knee, which is the one that is making that noise, and I think a couple of hardy-dar ibises in the corner of the dam as well. So it's a little bit on the quiet side animal-wise, but bird-wise, there's one or two floating about, which is quite nice. No hippo that I can see anywhere. I was wondering if our friend from yesterday maybe made his way up this way. This is where he needs to come. If he's battling to find a waterhole, there is Buffelshoek Dam. There's nobody at home. It's the perfect place for a hippo to come and spend time. It's just nice sitting here, actually. The sun is coming up, it's getting warm, and it's just a beautiful spot to take in the morning air and watch what's going on and listen for anything. But it seems to be quite quiet on the radio as well. There's really not much going on at this stage. Right, Sept, I think let's go check Cheetah Cutline, see if the Angama Pride came back. If not, we'll meander our way around and head towards maybe Chitwa and check Twin Dams and Treehouse Dam and see if there's just anything around, really. And I was hoping we'd find some sort of sign of Ellies around here. We know that elephants don't always drink a lot in the mornings, but sometimes you can find them close by, at least, where they've come during the night and then they've just anchored down and fed a little bit. The only problem with taking this route in the morning is you drive straight into the sun, and it's very difficult to actually see what's going on in front of us. But we'll start turning south now, so that won't be a problem too much anymore. Right, it sounds like Mr. Henry has fixed his technical glitches once again and is ready to go, so let's go back to him.
Now, we are trying desperately to see if we can follow up on the leopard that we had yesterday, and we have not come up with anything just yet. Of course, the method of finding leopards here is very different from the one that Tristan is currently employing. He will be looking for tracks on the road. We cannot do that because the roads are too hard. They do not have tracks on them. And if you go off-road, of course, the grass is so thick that you couldn't follow them anyway. So it's very much a scanning exercise rather than a tracking exercise, and that's what we're doing. I'm quite gobsmacked to tell you that I cannot see a mammal from where I'm sitting here. Now that is extremely unusual for this part of the world, and is rather distressingly indicative of the fact that the migration season may in fact be over. Now I say may because it could easily be that the rains that we've had over the last few days will attract the herds back into this area. Let's hope that that does happen. In the meantime, we're going to scan for whatever it is we can find around here that might resemble a spotted leopard. Now, Andrew, you want to know what the average size of a wildlife reserve is. I'm afraid, Andrew, that is a question that has an answer, but a meaningless one. I mean, they vary from something the size of, what's the smallest one in South Africa? I don't know what it is, but they can be as small as 1,000 hectares all the way up to the size of the biggest protected area in Africa is the Selous at 5 million hectares. So yes, you could find an average, but it would be so meaningless from the point of view of trying to understand how big wildlife areas are. Quite an interesting statistic about it is the percentage of land in a country that is under wildlife. Now, somebody thumbsucked the recommended figure, I think, of 11% of your country should be under wildlife. I mean, that's how anybody could have worked that out or figured that that was a good idea, I'm not sure. Kenya has about 8%. I think South Africa has about 7 or so percent. Botswana and Namibia much higher percentages. And so Sorry, I'm just getting some fairly garbled messages in my ear. Right, okay, got them now. Let's head across to Taylor. She has got some warthogs.
They were being quite interesting, these two girls. They were sort of nudging noses and pushing and shoving one another, but now they have unfortunately stopped. So I wonder if there isn't a hierarchy system amongst females. Although, is that a boy? Hang on, can we zoom in? Is that as far as we can go? No, that is a male. You've got little warts down there. I couldn't see its man bits, though. I still can't see them. Are you a girl or are you a boy? I think it's a boy. It's very big to be a female. That would explain it a lot more. But not a very prominent male, unfortunately. But that double pair of warts is definitely an indication that it is a male. Right? Do you see how I'm so confused? This is weird. I'm trying to figure this one out there. Like I said, it's got two pairs of warts, typically a male. Females only have one set, closest to the eye. But I don't see the scrotum. I'm just going to put it like that. I don't know if I'm missing something, but that is very unusual. The other one is definitely a female, much smaller in size, doesn't have as massive tusks and only one set of warts. Was that a, I don't know what's going on over here. Right, that's very interesting sighting. I can't explain what I just saw. Now, Paula, you're wondering if warthogs will fight each other for fun. They do indeed. You actually see it a lot with the piglets. As they're growing up, they get, like any young animal, quite excited. And luckily, they normally have siblings to play with. So they will push and shove each other around, especially if they're young males. They have to practice, like we see elephants pushing and shoving one another around. It's sparring. It's vital, basically, for when they mature and when they've got to challenge other male warthogs for mating rights with females. So yeah, so they will play fight, and you'll see the females doing it too. Oh, there's looks like a striped kingfisher, but it didn't sit still for long enough. We're going to carry on. I don't understand what I just saw there. That was so weird. That looked like a male to me, but I didn't see the man bits. Oh well. Right. I'm going to keep driving and searching for lions or perhaps even a leopard or a rhino along this forested belt here along the river. Let's go back across to Tristan in the Sabi sand. I don't know what he's looking for next.
Well, I'm not really looking for anything. I'm just ambling around and enjoying the morning light, and bumped into a lonely male zebra by the looks of things with some impalas. He's made some friends of the wrong kind. They're not exactly the way he is, but so he's all on his own, which is quite strange to see. Generally you associate zebras with herds, but this particular one seems to be on its own. It might be some other zebras close by, but it seems to be by himself at this stage. It looks like a male. Can't see very nicely, but it does look like it. A few little oxpecker friends as well that are grooming and making sure he's clean. You know what's about to come out onto the road, Seb? A very nice big surprise. They're slowly but surely heading this way. Let's just go forward because they're on their way straight to the road, and I wonder if they're going to head towards Buffelshoek Dam, which will be quite nice. I'm quite excited about this actually, because I've been looking for these guys the last few days and haven't had very much luck. So I'm super happy that they're about to come out onto the road in front of me in perfect timing, and it looks like a monstrous grouping of them at this stage. I can see quite a number of our very, very special large grey friends. So there are lots of elephants that are about to just emerge out of this bush. Where they've come from, I'm not quite sure, but there is a whole big grouping of them. At least 30 that I can see already coming through this bush. It's just a whole bunch of big grey ghosts. There come some of the little ones. Look at them in front there, so they're busy chasing each other. So there they come, the two naughty ones in the front leading the charge. There we go, running around like crazy. But lots and lots are about to cross the road. Let's see how many we can count here. What are you chasing? There's some elephant that is upset with something. I feel like a bird is getting the wrath of these ellies. Oh, there come some little ones. So when I said it was not a small herd, I meant it. There are lots of elephants here. That's just the first wave. We're about to get the second grouping coming over now. There comes the next grouping. I don't know if anybody's counting them as they're going over. It's difficult with all those legs and little babies in amongst the middle of them. Trunks wagging all over the show. They seem to be in a jovial mood this morning, these elephants. They're all quite busy. Paula, you were hoping there were going to be babies. Well, Paula, there are most certainly a lot of babies. There's quite a number of them, and I'm hoping the direction that they're heading could potentially take them to Buffelshoek Dam. It's maybe they've got to just turn slightly, but we'll follow them along in case they do head that way, because it'll be such a joy to watch all of them around the dam and having a drink. And this is really what I was hoping for, is to find a nice big herd of elephants and spend a really long period of time with them. So I'm super happy about this. And you can see here comes the next wave coming over. This is the last grouping, and there's a young bull that will be the one that will bring up the tail end of the herd, but that is not a small group of elephants at all. Heather, you're wondering if this is an unusually big herd. Heather, no, not really. This is par for the course at this time of the year. We often do get larger herds of this size, should I say, in the winter months. So it's not unusual. Unusual for us would be a herd of 70 to 100. That's an unusual size herd. That's when you kind of takes your breath away. And here I'm sure there's only about 30, I would say maybe 30 to 40 of them that are in this herd. So not too big. The average Kruger herds that you see are generally between 15 and 30. That's kind of an average size for the elephants that we see in this area. So not too big. But nice to see nonetheless. To see as many as we've seen now is very pleasant. I'm certainly not going to sneeze at it, as they say. The problem is where they're heading is going to be very dense and very thick. It's not going to be an easy place to follow the herd. We will try, obviously, to keep up with them as much as possible. But something's obviously just caught their attention, because all of a sudden everybody stopped feeding. And look at how the ears are out slightly, and trunks were kind of sniffing. So I wonder if they didn't pick up audio for another elephant somewhere, and they were just having a little conversation in that low frequency sound, because it was amazing. Everybody was feeding and all of them stopped at the same time just to kind of listen, and now they're going back to feeding again. So I'm going to go forward a bit so you don't have to deal with all of these branches. Frank from Michigan. Hello Frank, you want to know if the herds are going to always stay together. No, so the herds actually do move around quite a bit, Frank. You'll find a situation where they, depending on environmental conditions, so how much food is available, how much water is available, that will sometimes kind of separate them or bring them together depending on what the situation is. So they will try and stay together as much as possible, and as the herd grows, though, it gets too big, and then you'll find there'll be splinter units of females and their families going off and forming a new herd, and then they will come back together at times and break apart. So it's a bit transient in that regard, but there will be times where you'll have herds staying together for quite some time, and what you will find with them is that there's a female, when she has her offspring, they will always be together. So it doesn't matter how big the herd gets, her direct younger females that she's had will stay with her and form part of the herd with her. Now, I don't know what all the rush and the fuss was about, because everybody's starting to settle down. So majority rules, you say 33 for this herd that crossed the road, and we've got to factor in our 2 bull elephants that haven't crossed yet, that are coming slowly but surely this way, and that will make 35 then, which is quite a nice size herd. So there's one of the bulls, the other one is behind us at the moment. So they're not very big bulls, these are youngsters, teenagers that are still in amongst the group. You'll find that they slowly but surely going to be pushed, and maybe because they were kind of walking behind, the rest of the herd got a little bit sort of antsy about it and moved off quite quickly. That could be why we have a situation where they were moving quite fast, and now that the bulls are on the other side of the road, everybody's just settling down a little bit. Such a joy though to listen to them feeding all around. You can see a crunching of roots and breaking of branches, leaves being shoved into mouths. Kaylee, you're asking if it's true that elephants mourn the dead. Well, they certainly will be quite upset when one of the members dies. You'll find that they'll sit around there and they'll try everything they can to get that member to stand up, to move again. They'll stand there and they'll sniff it. But in terms of mourning after that, there seems to be some sort of, I don't know if mourning is the right word, but they seem to be able to process that there's some sort of death, and they definitely, their behavior changes. So I suppose we could classify it as mourning. But we had a dead elephant on Chitwa once, and it was fascinating to watch that process. And every single elephant herd that came across that carcass in the sort of 6-7 months until I left Chitwa, that the carcass was there, even when it was bones, every single herd, once they got close to it, everybody would stop feeding. There would be a silence. There would be no more rumbling or anything like that, and they'd all get into single file, and they would come past that carcass, and every single one would touch and smell, even when it was rotting and there was still meat on it. And then once it got to bones, they would all sniff and take their turn and kind of walk past it and then slowly move off. So whether that's a paying of respects in some way or a curiosity, I'm not sure. But in terms of mourning, if a female loses her one of her young ones, then most certainly they do go into a bit of a sort of state of depression, if you want to call it. And when I worked in Kenya with those orphans, you found that they would be in a state of mourning as well if they lost their mother. So often they would be very sort of down about things. There would be no life in that elephant whatsoever, as it kind of came to grips with the fact that it had lost its family and its mom and all kinds of other things. And you'd find that they would be really in their shells, and it would take quite some time for them to start actually coming out and start to show a bit of character. So I would say yes, they do mourn. Whether it's the same way that we mourn, obviously that's a bit different, but they certainly do have a process where they are not themselves after a death, and they will then investigate carcasses and sit and smell and kind of look around and have some sort of communication around that. This guy is going to be a magnificent bull when he's much older. He's still fairly young at this stage, so it's going to be interesting. Is he a bull elephant? Yeah, he's a bull elephant. So he's going to be magnificent when he's older. You can see his tusks are already quite long for a younger individual. So it's going to be interesting to see how big he actually gets. They're all just slowly meandering about, so we're going to just sit with our elephants and enjoy not only the morning sunshine, but just being in the company of these giants. And while we do that, I believe James has something far more agile, lighter, and likes to fly around in the air.
Well, here on the somewhat barren plains at the moment, we've managed to find you a scavenging bird. And that scavenging bird, of course, is the tawny eagle. Not so, David. Not the brown-chested snake eagle. No, which doesn't in fact exist. Anyway, David spotted the bird. It's the first piece of life, other than the plant life we've seen for a little while. And I'm in two minds as to whether we should head from here to the escarpment to see if we can find the sausages, or if we should go back towards that little rocky prominence where we were finding that pride of lions almost on a daily basis for a little while last week. And I think what we're going to do is the latter at the moment, because we've got some time left, and I don't see any huge herd activity in front of us. So we're going to do a little turnaround. So that is the tawny eagle. When I say a scavenger, they spend a lot of time eating, of course, the dead creatures that have been around here during the migration season, and so he'll be quite a fat tawny eagle at the moment. Now, Dusa, you're wondering about why sometimes hang on one second. Why sometimes herd animals are on their own. Dusa, it's a good question. Sometimes they get lost. We've seen a number of wildebeest calves that seem to have become separated from the herd by mistake. Either they've been chased by predators, or they haven't crossed the river with the rest of the herd, or they've just fallen asleep under a bush and the rest of the herd's moved on. I think both of those things do happen. Sometimes they just needed a bit of lone time. They'll move between groups. Sometimes, for example, you might see a lone male zebra because he's been tossed out of his group. Sometimes, animals just get a little bit lost. And often herds, you'll find, are not very solid groupings. So they're not stable social arrangements. Giraffe herds will come together and split. Topi herds, I imagine, exactly the same. And definitely for anything except an elephant herd, the social connection between the animals is pretty limited. I hope that answers your question. Let's do a little turnaround here and continue down the road. It's a chilly day, you know. We were chatting to Vincent yesterday. I don't know how many of you were on drive with us yesterday afternoon, but Vincent was trying out as a presenter, and he's got lots of experience in this area. And I said to him, now look, where is the dry season? I thought it was supposed to be now. And he said, you'd have no idea how unusual this is to find this area so wet at this time of the year. He said, you normally expect it to be very hot and very dry. And it certainly is not very hot at all, and it is certainly not very dry. I'm just going to change gears. Okay, on we go. So there's a little rocky prominence down here in which a pride of lions of 2 or 3 females, 2 young males and 1 very large male was sort of lurking while the wildebeest and zebra were swirling around this area. And we're just going to see if we can't find them again, and then we'll head back up onto the escarpment. But it is just astounding to see how these plains, once completely covered with wildebeest, are now utterly devoid of them. There are topi around. There's still quite a few zebra around. I'm missing the name there, sorry, at least Spara. Spara, you're wondering about the paucity of fully grown trees here and why we don't see a lot of them. Well, let's have a look. Let's look at this area here. So, nothing that you're looking at there will stay the same. There will be small subtle changes year in and year out. The vegetation will change, the height of the vegetation will change, and the structure will change. So there will be more trees some years or some decades, and then fewer decades after that. But the reason that there are fewer trees here than there are, say, in the Sabi sand is, well, it's interesting, and there are a number of reasons for it. Elephants play a huge role here. They have been left to sort of their population has been left unfettered for many, probably not centuries, no. Certainly for at least 100 years they've been left alone in this area, and so they have grown in numbers. They have definitely played a huge role in making sure that the bush is kept open. The other reason is that the soil here is conducive to growing a lot of grasses, and there's sufficient rain, which means that the grasses and the soil is such that there is sufficient water in the surface layer of the soil to allow the grasses to outcompete the tree seedlings. And what that means is that there's always going to be in this area preponderance, or the conditions are going to favor having more grass. If it was to dry out, if there was to be less and less rain over the years, then you would find that situation would change. But always on these kinds of soils where they're not sandy, they hold water in the top surface layer, it's going to favor the development of grasses over tree seedlings, because tree seedlings need to put down a taproot to subsurface soil, and as long as you've got water in the top surface, the adventitious root system of grasses is going to outcompete the taproot system of the trees. Does that make sense? The reason that there's so few adult trees is just because, well, it's difficult to recruit a tree in this area for elephants because of competition from grasses, and certainly used to be from humans as well. Okay, we're going to carry on down this road, and speaking of population of elephants now thankfully growing unfettered in the Kruger National Park, Tristan has got a number of those.
We do have a number of them. So look at this one rubbing his ear. Oh, he's stopped now because the other one is moving, but he was rubbing his ear on the tree stump. And there's a little green branch that's growing because that's about to go, unfortunately. So that regrowth of this marula has just been ended right there. So there was the little branch that was coming up, and that's been broken off. But he was starting to scratch, or she should I say, actually. It is a female. Earlier I was saying it's a male, but it's not. I was looking at it and I could not for the life of me see a male in it, and then all of a sudden I just realized, no, it is a female indeed. It's just a very large female that is there, and she's just slowly but surely decimating what little greenery there is on that poor marula. Anna Marie, you're saying, does the social sort of structure of animals indicate intelligence? If you look at things like hyena and elephants, well, I suppose so. There's a lot that you can learn just from the way that they go about things and how they interact with one another. There's definitely a huge amount of intelligence in both those animals, and they are a very tight-knit bond groups. So I would say yes, intelligence does lead to very strong social net bonds and social structures that they have. If you look at all the more intelligent animals, they have very complex social structures, and they spend a lot of time, looking after one another. So it's an interesting kind of way to look at things, although there are other animals that are also very intelligent that tend to be on their own. Are you going to scratch your bum now, girl? She's having a great time. Reminds me of Baloo from the Jungle Book. That's amazing. So Janine, you're wondering how the low frequency communication works. Well, basically they, much like whales, is that they produce a sound that's much lower frequency than our ears can pick up, but they're able to pick it up with their ears, as well as they have sensory cells in their feet and their trunks that are able to pick up the vibrations from those low frequency sounds, and that's how they then communicate with one another. So it's just that our audible range for our ears is not able to actually hear that sound, and it's the same with whales to some degree, and so they just produce a sound that, like I say, that the frequency is much lower than what ours is, and they just pick it up. And their ears are designed in a way, and the sensory cells are designed in a way that they can pick up that particular frequency, whereas we can't. So it's much like us talking. We all have, different tones, but we have a range that we can hear, and as soon as it goes with outside of that, we battle a little bit, both high and low. And so with them, they are able just to be much more sensitive to that, and they've got a much bigger ear at the end of the day as well. So it's part of the reason probably why they can hear better. It's just amazing, though, to watch them go about their business. They absolutely wreck some of these trees. It's incredible. James was talking about how they shape the landscape, and even here in Kruger, they are animals that do hugely shape what's going on. You can hear all around us trees are being broken. There was a grove of bush willows that was on my right that a female has absolutely decimated. She's smashed the bush willows completely and uprooted half of them. So it's just been interesting to watch the size of branch that they like to break and use. You would think that they would go after small little branches and the spindly ones, but you can see that female there. Look at how thick that particular branch is that she's busy snacking on at the moment. That is not exactly a thin branch that she's got. She's pretty much uprooted half a tree to get that, and you can see slowly but surely stripping of it of all the cambium. It's using the trunk and the tusks just to balance everything as it goes in. But that is a really big branch. If you think about the thickness of an elephant trunk, it's not a small branch at all. Like I say, it's more of a tree than it is a stem or a branch. What's also interesting is just to see how the herd is split all of a sudden. We've been sitting here and the back end of the herd has gone very stationary, but I've lost the front end, so the first two groupings that went over, they seem to have disappeared. And here comes some more, actually. I can hear them trumpeting in the distance. Can you see the little trunk between the legs there? just between the legs of that female, there's a little trunk. Go forward. Oh no, she's moving now, but it was just between her front legs that the little trunk was sticking out as this baby suckled. But it sounds like more elephants are on their way, so we're going to carry on here and see how many more come across the road. While we do that, I believe James is with a very large hippopotamus friend.
Hello again, all and sundry. There we have a hippopotamus who is not very sort of humorous this morning. He's had a rough night. This is a young bull, I think, or a young cow, and she was almost certainly set upon by lions during the course of the evening, but managed to escape. And you can see those claw marks where she's been really raked and lacerated, and I suspect, although she's actually okay, I'm just using the term she because the jaw is slightly smaller. I think it might be a female. What you can see, sorry, excuse me, I just ate a nut. What you can see is that she hasn't got too many chunks missing. There is a chunk missing from her back, but it's the other side, just behind that tuft of grass there. And I think that she's more exhausted than she is injured. A fight with a lion will have taken absolutely every ounce of energy that she has in her. And, you know, those lions get relentless. If they know that the animal can't escape into the water, they get completely relentless about their attacks. And I suspect that the very lions I was talking about earlier had a go at this hippo, and eventually they got too tired and they just decided it was enough, and she found this little refuge, probably not too far from where the attack took place, and there she has chosen to spend the day. And the reason we had the spare tire in there is to show you how close she is to the road. Dr. Robert, you say that hippos look positively stuck in sticky wallows. Dr. Rob, this hippo's not stuck at all. She's really just can't make it to the river, I think. I think she's either too tired, possibly injured, but I think she's just too exhausted to try and get up and make it all the way to the river. And Dave will just show you where the river is now. It's that line of trees way in the distance there. I would say it's probably a good 3 kilometers away, which is about, I don't know, say 1.8 miles or so. Almost 2 miles. And I know many of you are feeling quite sorry for this hippopotamus. I'm just going to go back a little bit and see if we can't maybe get a view of the chunk that's been taken out of her back. Let's try and get another angle. Anything there, Dave? No. Not. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to. You can see her eye there. Can you see her eye? Her eye has got some kind of sort of sleep in it, I guess.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. How is the...
We're just live on air at the moment. Haven't seen any cheetahs today. Okay. Enjoy. Sorry, was there a question there? I was distracted by a man in that car, not the driver, but the passenger, who had 2 enormous pieces of tissue stuffed in his nose. Yeah, Don, you're absolutely right. You say she's got very thick skin and you imagine that's only a scratch to her. You're absolutely right. And that's why I don't think she's actually tremendously badly injured. But I do think that she's exhausted. And we watched, David and I watched 6 males try and take down a hippo, a little bit bigger than that, the other day. I'm just going to move out the way before we get run down. In fact, we're going to be run down from all sides here. Let's just stop. But absolutely, what you will find is that although there are lacerations on the top of the skin there is a huge amount of blubber, and I don't think that the injuries would kill her. Alrighty, let's keep going. Yes. Well, while we're avoiding the traffic, let's go back across to Tristan, who's got some elephant traffic, rather.
Well, yes, we have traffic of a different kind, James, although our traffic is all cleared off the road. The ones that we're calling to our east, which is still inside Torchwood, haven't quite come through just yet. They're still on the eastern side of the boundary, but the rest of them are slowly but surely winding their way northwards and westwards towards Buffelshoek Dam. So I think we're just going to have to be patient with them and stay for quite some time, but eventually we will get to the dam, and I would love to stay with them, because if they get to the dam, it's going to be such a beautiful scene to see 30 odd elephants, or close to 40 elephants, spread out around Buffelshoek Dam. Maybe we'll even see some of the bulls playing a little bit in the water. It's starting to get warm enough that we might see that. You can see a little bit nervous of another car that just started, and that little one went running off. But they are now all of a sudden have gotten very mobile and are wanting to head towards the dam. So I think we're going to turn around and try and follow with them and see where they end up. There are still one or two of them spread around, actually still feeding inside here, but I think the general vast majority of them are going to head towards the dam. Just wondering why we haven't seen the appearance of the rest of them that we're calling to our east. I thought they would be coming along. Maybe it's a couple young males that are just at the back. We know that the bulls sometimes do spend time just on the back end of these herds. Lasha, you're wondering if the elephants seek shelter when it rains? A little bit. I mean, it's not hugely important for them to find too much shelter. Rain is not the biggest threat, so you'll find as long as they can get out of the way of really pelting rain, then they find soft drizzle. They're absolutely happy to walk around in the open and get wet. When it's really hard driving rain and lots of lightning, then you'll find they'll get into a little bit of a thicker, denser area. And the other thing is if there's lots of wind. So rain generally is accompanied by wind. So if there's lots of wind, then you would find that they'll try and get into deep drainage sections, so deep riverbeds that are quite narrow, so that the wind doesn't kick up inside there, and they can actually stay nice and sort of out of the wind and be able to hear what's going on. So it's not so much the rain, it's more wind that is associated with those big storms that they don't like, and they'll seek shelter from that more than they will from the rain itself. Now they should be coming out just here. I can see some of them already coming in this direction, so we are slowly but surely making our way across towards Buffelshoek Dam. We probably, I would say, maybe 20 minutes away from the dam at the pace that they're walking at the moment, because they're just ambling along feeding. So just through there, Seb, that's really very difficult. Seb's not going to be able to see much through all of these trees, but you can just see them ghosting along in this thicket, and it just goes to show how well a herd of elephants can camouflage. It's not exactly a small grouping, but inside there is 40 elephants. You wouldn't say so, would you? It's pretty crazy how well they actually do blend in. You can just hear them feeding. There we go, there they are. See just the odd shape here and there, and so it's going to take a while, like I say, as they feed their way slowly along towards the dam. I wonder how there's actually a group of dwarf mongoose. I wonder if they're going to get chased by the ellies. There we go. So there's our dwarf mongoose. You guys are about to get a big invasion of a lot of big animals. So they're sitting on a termite mound very close to where the ellies are, and I think they're watching the elephants come. They can hear them breaking branches and causing a bit of trouble. So I wonder if they're all going to go scattering down the burrows and into the mound to get away from these ellies. But the reason why they're on the mound is just to sun themselves. So it's obviously a cold start to the day, so they just get a little bit warmer. Atmadeep, you're wondering why the elephants are not named like the leopards and lions. Well, Atmadeep, it's because to name 20,000 animals that move around here is very difficult. Our leopards and our lions are territorial, so they stay in this area. We see them regularly. There's not that many of them, and because they're territorial, we know that there's a certain place that they're going to walk around in, and that's why there's a lot of time invested in them, and why they get an IDing feature. the elephants just roam so far that we might see, and Fang is a great example. There's an elephant in this area called Fang who has this backward facing tusk, and we haven't seen her now for 4 months, but it's not impossible that she's just somewhere else in the Kruger Park system, and she'll then arrive back here in the summer months. So sometimes there's herds that will come through here, and only in a year's time will we see them again. And hopefully, we will see Fang, because she did have a bit of difficulties, but it means that they move around so much and that we see them so infrequently that to recognize individuals is very difficult. It's not an easy process at all, and like I say, elephants are not like lions and leopards that have these kind of unique spot patterns. It's a lot more difficult to recognize them at a younger age, so that's why. Right, I believe Taylor has zebra in the Mara, so let's go across to her.
Very cool spots, but not much activity. Lots of carcasses around, of course, but we're sitting at an area also again against the Mara River, and there's a couple of zebra going down. I don't think that they're going to cross. I think they might just be wanting to go down for a drink. Unfortunately, we can't off-road here, so it's very difficult to try and see what they're going to do. But we'll hang around here for a little bit and see what happens. They're up and down. I don't think they really know what they're going to do. I have seen big crocodiles around here before. There's also loads and loads of hippos. But it's yes, it's a bit scary. I don't know if I want to go down there. Look how narrow it is. It's not like it opens up and there's a wide bank that they can stand on. It's a little bit intimidating. Let's see what happens here. Like I said, I don't know. I don't think that they're going to cross. There's a couple of them, but only one has gone down now. But there we go, there goes another one. But we know what zebra are like. It often takes them ages, especially when they want to go down and drink. They're very wary of the water's edge because of crocodiles. Typically, it's the stallion that leads the herd down to drink. Let's see. If we hear splashing, then we know that they are not going to drink. They are going to cross the river, which could be quite exciting. But for now, there's only 2 zebra down there. So let's not jump the gun just yet. There goes another one. Now, Johnny, you're wondering if this zebra is the boss? I don't know. You'll have to ask him. Excuse me, sir. Are you the boss of this herd? No response. No. Johnny, normally it is a stallion that will take charge within a herd, and then he has a harem of mares. They're very indecisive, but this is so typical for the behavior of zebra. Even when we see them in the Sabi sand, they can't decide when they want to go and have a drink. Sometimes it takes them hours and hours of staring, watching, hoping that they're going to go down and drink before they eventually do. But they might just hang around here for a little bit. Let's see, there's some young blood coming through. Maybe their eagerness is going to rub off on the older zebra. But it's good that they're wary around here. Like I said, I have seen some big crocodiles laying on these banks. We'll see if we can try and get you a view in a minute. I just want to see what happens first without moving. You said that this is a curious place for a zebra. I think it's quite a nice place, actually, because there's lots of nice green grazing around. Then there's a water source. Like I said, I don't know if they're going to cross. If they cross, they're going straight into a forested area. I can't see why they'd want to go there other than, of course, crossing the river. But to me, that would be a little bit silly, because firstly, you're now going to cross a river that is treacherous and filled with all sorts of things that want to eat zebras, and then you're going to climb a steep hill into an area where you can't see, so you're going in blind. It could be lions waiting around there. We always see lions waiting around in the long grass, but I think that would be a very, very silly spot. But look at them, they're all lining up now. What are you guys going to do? Again, let's not jump the gun too early, because they could all just turn around and walk away. There's lots of them. There's more zebra coming from behind us, but they're all just standing in a row at the moment. One at a time, please. One at a time is probably what one of them is shouting. Tickets ready. I don't know, I'm a bit silly sometimes. I haven't seen a crossing yet, so I would love it if they tried to cross. Louis, you said that the rest of them are taking a lot of time to make the call. Yes, I think so. They're very indecisive, the animals out here. They never quite know what they're going to do. All you need is just one to make the leap of faith to go on down. But I think that they could just be going for a drink. And if they all try and go down for a drink at the same time, they're going to find themselves in a bit of trouble, because it is exceptionally narrow. And, if they all start pushing and shoving from the rear, they could push one in accidentally. That wouldn't be too funny. They're coming back up again. Let's see. We'll sit here for a little bit and see what happens. There's youngsters going in. I'm big and brave. I'll show you. I'm not scared of a crocodile. And you see we'll show you the hippos. There's a pod of hippos just to the left. I think I've actually showed you this group before. They were out of the water one morning. It was quite pretty, all the little ones, but there they are resting. No, that was a different crossing. Please, I didn't just forget what I just said. That was at hippo pools. This is not hippo pools. This is quite far away from hippo pools, in fact. But they're just sleeping. They don't look like they're too bothered by it. Is that a sandpiper on that hippo's back? Go straight in, to the left? Yes, it is. Here we go. That's unusual. I haven't seen that before, but also not too surprised, especially when you're just sleeping like that. You make a great platform. Oh, and are you trying to peck little insects off the hippo too? That's quite cool. I haven't seen that before. They'll just go over the top of your head, down your snout, and back onto the grassy edge. Fantastic. I feel sorry for hippos sometimes because I think they do get used a lot by the birds as resting posts. And then how do the birds thank you? By defecating on them. So sorry, hippos, about that. All you're trying to do is just catch up on your sleep after a long day, long evening out. See, look at these hippos. Not these hippos. Look at the zebra. Disappointing. What are you doing? Ooh. I almost got a kick to the face. Now, Mita, you're wondering if the zebras are larger here in the Mara compared to in South Africa. No, I think that they're about the same size. I haven't noticed them to be overly large, but Mita, the impala up here are monsters. They are huge compared to the impala in the Sabi sand. But the zebra, they're the same. Other than them lacking the shadow stripe, they're very much the same species as zebra we get down south. All gathering around again. I think they're regrouping. Perhaps someone is going to be brave enough to go down this time. Let's see. And then look, there's another herd of zebra at the back watching this herd going, oh no, are they going to be silly? Is that lot going to go down? And I reckon if they start crossing here, if they do cross, then the other zebras might move into the area and do the same thing. It's amazing how when one set of animals will cross, it sort of lures others in to do exactly the same thing. I suppose safety in numbers. The more of you that cross at the same time might have a better chance of actually making it. Unless you get stampeded. In that case, you can end up drowning. Never mind being eaten by crocodiles. Now, something that a lot of you pick up, and we typically pick it up on the warmer days, and it comes from Stephanie, and it's, why do horses and zebras' muscles always look like they're twitching? Well, you see dogs doing it. You'll see, I haven't really seen cats doing it, well, house cats, but lions do it as well. It's basically just where the flies are sitting, so they contract the muscle, and then it twitches, and then hopefully the fly flies off. Remember, they don't have hands like that, so they can't just, reach over their shoulder and scratch a spot or swat a fly. They've got their tails to do that. So by twitching muscles, that tends to help try and keep the flies at bay too. But it's not really flies that I've seen at the moment. There's these midges that are swarming everywhere, and they're biting me. I had one bite me on my forehead the other day, and I think they're annoying the zebras too, and the wildebeest and the buffalo and the rest of the animals out here. They can be a bit of a pest. Right, they are resting for the moment. I'll sit here for a little bit longer and see what happens. James has got a bird that keeps eluding me.
Well, it's... we're just going to wait for David to zoom in, because otherwise it's going to be impossible to see what we're looking at there. There we are, it's an ostrich. I'm not sure why it keeps eluding Taylor. Or was it Tristan we linked from? It was Taylor. Oh, I see. Okay, so she didn't manage to see one at Djuma because she saw their prints on the road. Well, Taylor, I'm sure you've seen plenty of them here. And I think that they're coming into some sort of breeding season at the moment. The males are all very pink about the ears and about their necks and their legs. And they do that rather bizarre dance where they flap their wings to and fro, and it is a wonderful thing to see if you've ever seen it. And I was rather hoping he might do that for us instead of just walking along and having something to eat. He'll be looking for little forbs, little herbaceous plants, largely not grass, although I'm sure he'd take very small grass seedlings. And you can see he's all alone. As David zooms out inexorably slowly, you will see that the amazing sort of plains here are just devoid of mammals. We have a question from an anonymous viewer who would like to know what the collective noun for ostriches is. I've seen various. I've heard the term pride used because they make a noise a little bit like a lion. In fact, I will play it for you. And I mean, look, you could probably get away with calling them anything you like. You might be able to call them a ridiculous of ostriches if you wanted. The biological term for any bird group is a flock, so it would be a flock of ostriches. Let's play you the ostrich call. Are you excited, David? Are you overwhelmed? Not. Just vaguely excited. Yes, well, that's all right. Ost. Hang on a second. Field guide. Ost. Ost. No, come on, man. Sorry, 1 second, everybody. It won't take another 3.5 days or so. There we go. Common ostrich. Sound. Now you can see how that in the distance might sound okay, shut up now. It might sound a little bit like a lion, but it isn't a lion, it was an ostrich. And that's why they're sometimes called the pride of ostriches. Anyway, that's my story of the ostrich. That ostrich is now only 2 pixels on the screen, so we're going to continue down to the south. David has made a request that we go down towards the salt lick to see what's going on there. So I said to him, oh, all right, David, if that's what you want to do, so shall it be.